There's a crow sitting on the wire above the intersection you cross every Tuesday morning. You glance up, maybe just a bird, a dark shape against a gray sky, doing nothing in particular. You keep walking. The crow does not. It watches you go, and it does something that should genuinely unsettle you. It recognizes you. Not a human, moving no immediate threat, you specifically. Your face, the way you carry your shoulders, the particular rhythm of your stride. It has filed all of that away under a category that matters enormously to its survival, and it has been maintaining that file since the first time it saw you. And here is the part that really changes things. It has already told the others. You think you are just another anonymous face out there on the pavement. You are not even close. Now, the obvious assumption here, and it is a genuinely reasonable one, is that birds simply cannot do this. From a perch 20 feet in the air, one human being looks more or less like another. Two people in dark winter coats, moving at the same pace down the same gray street, how would any animal tell them apart? We struggle to do it ourselves from a distance. And birds, with those small fixed eyes and that compact, walnut-sized brain, surely they are responding to movement and sudden gestures and loud noises, not cataloging individual faces. Face recognition is a primate skill, a social mammal skill, something that evolved in creatures who spent millions of years needing to read each other precisely. A crow is a bird. It eats what it finds and avoids what threatens it. That whole picture is wrong, not incomplete, wrong. And the proof of just how wrong it is starts with a man walking across a university campus in Seattle wearing a very specific latex mask, genuinely baffled by why every crow in the vicinity was screaming directly at his face. In 2006, John Marsloff, a wildlife biologist at the University of Washington, designed one of the more entertainingly strange experiments in the history of animal cognition. He and his team needed to trap wild American crows on campus, catch them, attach identification bands to their legs, release them, and they needed to do it while wearing a face the crows would remember. So they chose a latex mask, heavy brow, wild hair, prehistoric features, a caveman face, recognizable and deeply weird. The second mask, worn during ordinary campus walks when no trapping happened at all, was a smooth, neutral, forgettable human face. Think of it as the control, a face that meant absolutely nothing. Then they waited, and then they started walking. Weeks after the trapping, researchers walked the same paths in the same masks. The caveman mask appeared and the campus erupted. Alarm calls, dive bombing, scolding runs, crows dropping out of trees to scream at one specific face, moving through a crowd of hundreds of indifferent humans. The neutral mask drew nothing. Complete calm. Just another Tuesday. Marsloff published the behavioral results in the journal Animal Behavior in 2008, and what the data showed was not generalized anxiety around people. It was targeted, precise, sustained. The crows weren't wary of humans. They were furious at one particular arrangement of features. 5 years later, researchers could still walk that campus in the caveman mask and get scolded. The memory did not fade. In 2011, Marsloff's team went a step further and used brain imaging to watch what happened inside a crow's brain when it processed a familiar, threatening face. The regions that lit up, areas involved in threat recognition, emotional response, and memory, were the same regions that do that work in mammals, including in you. The crow brain is tiny by any measure, but it was running a process that looks, structurally, remarkably like the one your own brain runs when you spot someone across a room and feel a sudden, wordless wariness. Now here is the detail that completely changes the scale of what we are talking about. Because you might hear all of that and land somewhere like this. All right, the crows that were trapped remember the face that trapped them. Unsettling, but contained. One bird, one bad memory, one face on a private list. You just avoid that particular campus. That is not what was happening. The scolding behavior spread to crows that had never been trapped, crows that had never interacted with the caveman masked researchers at all, crows that had simply been perched nearby when others sounded the alarm. They learned the face from the reaction of their flock mates. They joined the mob, they filed the face, and they passed it on further. Crows are intensely social. And they share threat information the way you might text a warning to a group chat, specifically, urgently, repeatedly, until everyone has it. Young birds, raised well after the original trapping event, scolded the caveman mask on their very first encounter with it, because the adults in their lives had already communicated what that face meant. Chicks who were not alive when a single crow was caught and banded on a Seattle campus in 2006 nevertheless knew, by the time they fledged, that this was a face to be treated as dangerous. The grudge became cultural, not stored in one brain, stored in the flock, in the generations, in the living social memory of a community of birds. A piece of precise, specific knowledge about one human face, traveling forward through time in minds that never met the person it was about. Before you decide this is a crow peculiarity and resolve never to bother crows specifically, consider what else is happening out there. Because it turns out the city is full of creatures quietly keeping track of you. In 2009, Douglas Levy and his colleagues at the University of Florida published a study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences following urban mockingbirds nesting on the campus in Gainesville. Researchers had individual people walk deliberately close to the same nests on repeated days. The mockingbirds identified the repeat intruder within 2 visits. 2. They launched alarm responses earlier, mobbed more aggressively, and completely ignored other people walking the identical path at the identical distance at the identical time. It was not human near-nest alarm. It was this human near-nest alarm that other human find carry on. Pigeons, which most people treat as furniture, or as something slightly worse than furniture, have been shown in multiple studies from Shigeru Watanabe's lab at Keio University in Japan to reliably distinguish individual human faces from photographs, and to maintain that recognition even when you swap out the clothing, change the hair, and alter the background. The face alone is enough for the pigeon to say, in whatever way a pigeon says anything, "Yes, that one, I know that one." The bird staring at you from the ledge above your door is not spacing out. It is paying close attention to a face it has seen before. And magpies, the corvid cousins of crows, equally glossy and equally underestimated, passed the mirror self-recognition test in a 2008 study by Helmut Prior, Andreas Schwartz, and Oner Gunterken, published in PLOS Biology. A magpie, noticing a brightly colored sticker placed on its own feathers while it faced a mirror, reached down and tried to remove it. That means the bird understood that the reflection was itself, not another bird. Only a small number of non-primate species have ever cleared that bar. Self-awareness, long-term social memory, individual recognition of specific faces, in the corvid mind, these are not separate, isolated abilities. They are one continuous system, one finely maintained and constantly updated ledger of the world and everyone in it. If the idea of being watched by something far smarter than expected is your kind of strange, there is a whole world of it here waiting for you. Here is what stays with you once you have sat with all of this. You move through a city and you experience it as a crowd of strangers, faces that wash past you, none of them sticking, most of them gone from your memory before you have even rounded the next corner. That is the human experience of public space, an anonymous blur and you anonymous within it. The crow on the wire above that same street is having a completely different experience. Every face below it is a known quantity or an entry waiting to be made. Some are filed under neutral, some under safe. A few, a specific, precisely remembered few, are filed under something else, with a note attached and a warning that has already been passed along to birds perched on other wires, in other trees, in other years. You thought you were the one moving through their world. You were always the one being watched in yours.